Hello, Liberty University. My name is Daniel Graham. I want to just take a few moments of your time to tell you about someone that I love, know, and respect. Never met the guy, but I definitely have seen some of his impact that he's made throughout the world, which is just amazing. Let me tell you a little bit about this guy. This guy is named Francis of Assisi. I don't know if you've ever heard him before. There are definitely a lot of people throughout the centuries who have tried to follow in his steps. They call themselves Franciscans. You know them for the brown habits that they wear, the long beards, the shaved head. Usually they're known for humility and poverty and for taking care of the poor and the needy. And that's great in and of itself, but mostly I just want to tell you, or just encourage you, to learn a little bit about the man I love, which is St. Francis. What's interesting about St. Francis is there's two great books you can read. Probably one of the best ones is this one right here. It's called The Little Flowers, The Life of St. Francis. And then there's other great books out there. There's a great writer, G.K. Chesterton. He writes extensively about St. Francis, about his life. But there's actually thousands of books about St. Francis. And, of course, everyone wants to take their own spin on who he was and what he did. But I just like to know him personally. I want to encourage you, perhaps, to just read a little bit about him and try to experience what this man was and what he did. To tell you a little bit about St. Francis, to give you an idea, maybe interest you, St. Francis was a kind of a middle-class son of a merchant living in medieval times. St. Francis was kind of a playboy and a soldier. He had a bunch of good friends, and they ran around partying and drinking and having fun. But St. Francis was never happy. He was never satisfied, like so many of us here in this country, always looking for more. You know, you already have the education, you already have the riches and the wealth and a loving family, but somehow there's that need, that drive that's in all humans, regardless of religion, regardless of faith. Because the story of St. Francis is more about the human heart and less about the ideologies that were running around. That was actually what St. Francis was trying to break apart. And that's why I love him so much, and I always encourage people to read about him, is to not be caught up with the ideology, but to caught up with what the human heart is and who this man is. So anyways, to get back to the point, St. Francis, beautifully enough, had this amazing conversion story, and it was when he was being a warrior, he actually got wounded and hurt and was put in prison. And when he was in prison, he saw the horrors. Outside the drama and the beauty of what we consider war or fighting or being a soldier to be, he saw the real side, which was death and torture, suffering and misery. And while he was in prison there and almost on his deathbed, someone gave him a book, and that book was the Bible. And the Bible was written in his native tongue and not in the classical Greek or Latin. So St. Francis was able to actually read the book and really get into the writings of Christ. And the interesting thing what St. Francis did is, as he was writing this, he dramatically took it literally. And he said, I want to be just like Christ. I want to do exactly everything that Christ said to do. So ironically, this Francis comes back to his countrymen after he gets released and starts giving away all his father's money to all the poor. And he gets rid of his clothes, and he starts taking care of the lepers, people that he was scared of. And he starts spending more time with nature. And what happened is a beautiful conversion story takes over him. And of course his dad and all of his brothers, they call him a lunatic and they get mad. They actually take him to court. And in front of court, in front of everyone, St. Francis looks around and he realizes, I want to be free. He takes all his clothes off, butt naked, in front of all his townsmen, and walks right out of town with none of his clothes and says, here's everything. And then he goes back into the countryside. And for the rest of his life, St. Francis went. And he actually, instead of trying to be mighty and proud and smart, he wanted to be like a fool. He wanted to be the stupidest of men. He wanted to be the silliest of men. And reason being is because he's tired of being better than men or wanting to be greater than the men. So he seeked out the lowly, he seeked out the poor, the disenfranchised, and not in a somber, serious way, but in a beautiful way. He gave himself. He built them up. He made them laugh. He danced with them. He took risks and challenges that hardly anyone would ever take, even visiting the Sultan, trying to convert him. But because of his love, the Sultan let him come in, gave him free ride to go around all the country, which no other Christian could. And St. Francis is able to do a lot of good. And my point is that nowadays, with all the problems going on in the world, the problems in your own life, sometimes you need to read someone like this St. Francis and have a chance to see what it means to be able to give up the material wealth that holds us down, to be able to be closer with nature, to realize that instead of increasing ourselves, we should decrease ourselves, to make people laugh, to make them happy, to not try to make ourselves better than everybody else. And see, that was the thing with Francis. He wasn't unhappy. He was happy. He had nothing, and he was known to be one of the happiest men that ever walked the face of this earth. And still today, everyone talks about this crazy man who was running around in a very somber, dangerous time in medieval life, singing the beauty of nature, singing the beauty of man, singing the beauty of freedom. And these are a couple things that are good to think about in our hearts. You know, something just, you know, a hero to have, instead of maybe like Donald Trump or the presidents or all the other celebrities or sports stars. I think all of us need a personal hero like St. Francis, someone that we can look to. So when we realize we can't reach what we need to reach, we can be like him. So I encourage you. I told you a crazy story. I didn't have enough time, but I really love it if maybe you took a quick look. And you don't even have to read all the ideology. You can just read about what he actually said and did in his life, just through his own words. God bless you, and thank you very much for your time.